This is the captain. Brace for impact.
Hello, Davie Portman here from Up Nxt, and we are back. It's been a while, but prepare for impact. This is Deep Impact, our Impact Wrestling review. And I am not alone today. I am joined by Mr. Shot in the Dark himself, Mr. Siino Evil. John, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. I expect you to have your cowboy hat on and your chaps on, ready to, for a Texas Death podcast, but we're going with casual clothes today. That's fine.
My chaps are in storage right now, and I just didn't have the time to get them today, unfortunately. But a real hardcore country show. Welcome if you're watching this live, twitch.tv/upnextpodcast. Thank you for joining us, and thank you for listening. If you're listening to the podcast version of this, wherever you found us, we appreciate it. It's the first Impact pay-per-view of the year. And John, I know you were writing the reports for Post Wrestling for quite a while for Impact, and obviously we've done these shows before. And I know you no longer do the reports, but you still cover it on Shot in the Dark each and every week. And last time we spoke about Impact was Josh Alexander beating Christian in the end of the AEW Impact kind of crossover, and with Moose then cashing in and beating Josh Alexander to become the Impact World Champion. And it seemed like that Forbidden Door closed that day, but in the last week, another Forbidden Door, or two Forbidden Doors. I know we hate that term now, but two doors have opened from the announcement of Mickie James, the Impact Knockouts champion, being in the Royal Rumble this year. And what did you think of that news?
Yeah, I feel like Scott D'Amore is like the keymaster. It kind of reminds me of that new Disney movie Encanto, where every door is like a magical door to a new world. And he's got the WWE world and the Ring of Honor world and who knows what else. But Scott D'Amore is the guy with all the keys right now. He's just kicking down doors left and right. He's like, hey, I can't work with AEW. I'll work with somebody else. And they're going to say my name on TV, and they're going to say my name on Twitter, and they're going to use women and everything that AEW didn't do. So it's been pretty I didn't expect this at all. Like, I'm watching Monday Night Raw and or SmackDown. Was it SmackDown? I don't know what show it was. SmackDown, right? Where they mentioned Mickie James.
Yeah, SmackDown.
And I'm just like, wait, did I hear that right? And then Pat McAfee's like, oh, the Impact Knockouts champion. And I'm like, what? And then Twitter, they're mentioning it. I'm just like, oh my God, what is going on right now? But it's been a crazy 24 hours to say the least for Impact, but good for them. This is a great card going into the show regardless, but I feel like more people might just be interested, maybe checking out this podcast or reading the reports just to find out exactly, what's going on. People are expecting, oh, Mickey's going to just drop the title and she's going to be in the Rumble and she's going to leave Impact. It doesn't seem like they're going that direction. But it should be rather interesting in the next month or so for Impact.
Yeah, keeper of the keys, Scott D'Amore. And as we'll get into later in the show, and you kind of alluded to, Ring of Honor really making their presence felt tonight on Hard to Kill as well. But I think it's pretty cool. Mickie James is going to be in the Rumble. I personally don't think it's going to be that much more than that. I see from now on it being something that Impact kind of drops every week on TV, and I wouldn't be surprised if we don't really hear much on it from it on WWE moving forward until the Rumble. But I do wonder if their plan is the next few weeks in WWE to maybe feature some of these like legends or like someone like Mickie James on TV to lead up to that women's match, because normally they keep these for sort of the surprise pop. So it's interesting that they've announced not everyone in the match, but a good deal of them. So who knows if we'll see her on TV or not before then. But
And of course, the former Tom Phillips, Tom Hannafin, he's been away from wrestling for almost a year now after getting fired by WWE. And one of his first instructions is make sure you plug the WWE Royal Rumble multiple times throughout the show on your first day back to wrestling, which I found that rather amusing. Like, oh, jeez.
Yeah, it's like, come on, I just got out of there. But yeah, shout out to Tom Hannafin. For his job tonight. Like, sounded... I was always a big fan of him in WWE. Obviously, this is the... We're Up Next. We started off as an NXT podcast, and we've been listening to Tom Phillips for a long, long time. And I've always been a fan. I think he's a real pro, and he slotted in so well to this show, and clearly knew all his stuff, had done his research. It sounded like he'd been with the company for a long time. I thought he did a great job for his Impact debut, and just makes the show, I don't know, sound a little classier. What were your thoughts of Tom?
Oh, yeah. I mean, no disrespect to Matt Stryker or Josh Matthews, but when you just like hear Tom Hannafin, Tom Phillips' voice, it just brings you back to those good memories of NXT or even WWE. He called a lot of good shows there. So just that familiarity, it just kind of puts you at ease. And yeah, like you said, he didn't miss a step. He just knew all the wrestlers and the storylines and the moves and everything. So very glad to be hearing him and knowing going forward he'll be the new voice of Impact.
And a lot of people already he knows from WWE, so he'd have been pretty familiar with their work prior to this anyway. But yeah, I thought he did a great job. It was a great upgrade for Impact for him, and I'm glad to see him back in the world of wrestling and hearing his voice again. But you mentioned beforehand, without any of this kind of WWE Royal Rumble talk, pretty loaded show. I've since kind of stopping doing the weekly Impact shows. I haven't caught it every single week, so I kind of did a bit of a catch up today on the last couple of episodes, and yeah, looking at the card, like you had Gresham and Gresham and Chris Sabin for the ROH title. You had Jonah, Josh Alexander, Trey, Miguel, Steve Maclin, all on the undercard. It looked beforehand like a really solid card, and obviously a couple of matches we didn't get, like the Knockouts Tag Team Championship with the Inspiration.
I know you must have been disappointed on that one after seeing that amazing segment they had on this past.
Yeah,
hugging away the titles and smacking each other around, and the new photographers, and yeah.
Look, I like the Inspiration, but I can't say I'm a massive fan of their wrestling, their in-ring work, and I do think the show moving the X Division title match to the main card, I think it benefited it, and I thought this show top to bottom was really strong tonight, and actually lived up to expectations looking at the card.
Oh yeah, for sure. I was very happy going into this show. I didn't think there's a couple of matches where I kind of was iffy in, and even those I went with pretty low expectations. They were pretty happy. But the matches that I knew were going to be good, they over delivered for me. And this show, I mean, we'll get into it, but there was a lot of blood, there was a lot of violence, there was a lot of very scary spots. I think almost every match, I'm like, that looks like a concussion. Like, it was a lot of scary spots throughout this show. So hopefully, I think I wrote it in my report, hopefully we're not going to see any major injuries coming out of this show, because they went above and beyond. They really took that hard to kill tagline to heart tonight.
Yeah, I do feel maybe, I mean, this week, I've got to admit, and I don't know how you do it, John, because you watch everything that's out there I mean, you were doing this before Shot in the Dark anyway, but yeah, you watch all the wrestling that's out there, and I was certainly tapped out. That's not to say we had bad wrestling this week. We had incredible wrestling. Wrestle Kingdom Night 1 and 2. New Year's Evil delivered for me. Obviously, the Hangman Bryan match on AEW, and then Rampage Battle of the Belts was on today, head to head, and
three nights of Wrestle Kingdom.
Yeah, there was a lot of wrestling this week. So when I sat down to do a show tonight, I was like, I don't want to see any more wrestling. And little plug, Braden and I just dropped our Best Match Ever Part 1 for 2021, going from numbers 10 to 6 of our best matches of 2021. So we've been watching that as well. So I wasn't in the best frame of mind to watch wrestling today because I've seen a lot. But once the show started, I actually really got into it and was quite happy to sit down for another 3 hours with more wrestling.
I've been in quarantine. I actually returned to work back tomorrow, and I was like, you know what, this is actually a pretty good week to be in quarantine because I got these Wrestle Kingdom shows at 3 a.m. in the morning, and you have New Year's Evil and Dynamite and this and that. So I was like, yeah, it's a pretty good week to stay home and actually catch up to all these shows live. Because usually the shows that I watch, I usually don't watch live. So I'll be honest, there's a lot of shows that do 1.5x or 2x, but a lot of these shows this week I actually decided to watch live. So it was a good week to do that, I guess. But a good way to end it. I mean, I still haven't watched Battle of the Belts, and that's another show that aired tonight that we weren't able to watch because it was going head to head with this show. So a lot of wrestling this week.
Yeah, I don't even know what's happened. Is Dustin Rhodes the new TNT champion?
No spoilers. No spoilers for the chat, please. This is an Impact only discussion.
Yes. Well, we started off with the pre-show where Jake Something took on Madman Fulton. And just having Tom Hannafin on commentary here was kind of fun with Fulton obviously being a former Sanity member and Phillips making a little bit of a reference to that. But Jake Something won this. I can't say I paid a great deal of attention to the pre-show, but a little bit of a warm-up match there for this crowd. And then we had Chelsea Green and Matt Cardona backstage being interviewed. They're saying that they're recently married and this is their honeymoon, and Chelsea's going to walk out with the big red X from the Ultimate X match and Cardona with the world title, and wedding season is over and it's now championship season. And then our next pre-show match, which I think did get a bit of attention, is Ace Austin versus Laredo Kid versus Chris Bay versus Mike Bailey, who recently signed with Impact, and this is kind of his debut and his first match on US soil, I believe, for how long is it? It's been quite a few
I looked it up. His last match was in 2016 against Matt Riddle at Beyond Wrestling, so it's been a while.
2016, wow.
Yeah. And originally it was supposed to be Jake Something in this match, and then when they took him off, of course, a lot of speculation about, did he catch something? But then you realize, Jake Something is there, just a different match, and that was the right decision because I think putting Speedball Mike Bailey in this match definitely gave it a better overall feel. I feel like it's four real high flying guys, but it was great to see Speedball here, and he looked in tremendous shape.
Yeah, it was a real fast-paced X Division style match. There was this springboard shooting star to the outside. Speedball just with his incredibly quick kicks to Ace Austin early on, and then he finished the match with the ultimate weapon, which is like a shooting star into double knees to the back, which looked great. And I can see him pretty quickly being a contender for Trey Miguel down the line. But good to see Bailey on a bigger promotion again, and I look forward to seeing a lot more of him.
Yeah, and he's only 31 years old. I feel like I've been hearing about Speedball Mike Bailey for at least 10 years. So I was like, this dude started I didn't realize he was that young still. And I haven't been able to see too much of his work because it's been mostly, out of states and a lot of matches that weren't on TV. I saw a couple of his shows that he did WrestleMania weekends, other countries, whatever. But it's good to see him actually get a main platform here. Yeah, his moves are crazy. At one point, he did this crazy spinning kick, and the thing D'Lo Brown called him Shang-Chi. He was the way he was moving was ridiculous. But I can't wait to see him fight guys like Trey Miguel and a Josh Alexander, just to see those two styles. I think would be a great match.
Absolutely. And we kick off the show proper with the first ever women's Ultimate X match to determine the number one contender for the Knockouts Championship. And we had Alicia Edwards versus Rosemary versus Tasha Steels versus Jordynne Grace versus Lady Frost versus Chelsea Green. Both Chelsea Green and Tasha Steels decided to wear hats to the ring. I thought Tasha looked awesome in her kind of circus ringmaster gear she had. Looked great. And this match was pretty fun and a really hot opener, actually. The bell goes and Jordynne Grace and Tasha Steels immediately start to climb. Now, if you haven't seen an Ultimate X match before, you've got kind of scaffold in all four corners with ropes creating an X over the ring with a big red X hanging in the middle. And similar to a ladder match, you've got to climb to get the X, but to do so, you've got to scale these ropes. So Grace and Steele start climbing immediately as the rest are brawling, and Grace catches Steels with this big spine buster, And then Savannah Evans, who's Tasha's partner, comes down to the ring to help, as it's obviously no DQ. And then Havoc comes out to help Rosemary and actually gets Rosemary on her shoulders to grab the X. But Chelsea Green hits a missile dropkick off the top turnbuckle to knock her off. So like a doomsday dropkick here. Looked pretty good. And now Chelsea Green and Alisha are climbing the scaffold, and everyone's out on the outside, and they both hit tandem cross bodies to the outside, which look great. And then Lady Frost follows up with this swan dive off the apron, off the turnbuckle to take everyone out. Now, Grace is climbing the rope in the middle, and Lady Frost jumps and grabs onto her. And Jordynne Grace just showing off her incredible strength, because she's just holding onto this rope with Lady Frost dangling from her. Looked really impressive. And then there was this kind of weird-looking assisted code red from Chelsea Green and Steelz to Jordynne Grace. Didn't go off quite as smoothly as I think it was planned, but still looked pretty cool. And then Alicia comes in with Kendra, the kendo stick, and starts lighting up people with it. Starts to climb and is scaling the ropes and gets speared in midair by Rosemary, like the Jeff Hardy edge spot here. And Alicia taking the bump face first to the mat.
Yeah.
Looked pretty nasty here. Now Tasha Steels and Jordynne Grace are climbing again, and Grace kind of grabs her and hits like a sit-out powerbomb, but both just landing tailbone first to the mat. Looked really painful. And then Lady Frost hits this beautiful-looking moonsault off the scaffolding to the outside. This looked stunning, I thought. Really, really good. Now, Grace, Green, and Steelz are all climbing. Grace gets knocked down, and you've got Chelsea Green and Steelz both fighting over the red X in the middle. And Steelz falls first, holding onto the X, and wins the match in 9 minutes, 14 seconds, becoming the #1 contender for the Knockouts title.
Yeah, there's so much I want to say about this match. First of all, it was really good. It was a lot better than I expected. Originally, it was supposed to be Rachel Ellering in this match, but she got taken out and replaced with Alicia Edwards. And my first thought was, oh no, anybody but her. Because, I mean, Alicia, like, she's just not a good wrestler, but she always tries her hardest, I feel like. And in this match, she tried her hardest. You know, her and her husband, they love those kendo sticks, Kenny and Kendra. But everybody in this match,
she took a few big bumps with that spear, with the dive to the outside. Yeah, she came to do something. And that's the thing about this match is, yeah, this match was only like a little over 9 minutes, and like everybody got like a big spot in. Lady Frost, who they recently signed, I think she has one of the most beautiful moonsaults ever. Like the way she does it is amazing. Jordynne Grace just falling, like just taking those drops. I was like, that cannot be like good for you. No.
But this match was great. Like I said, everybody got their stuff in. It didn't overstay its welcome, and good for Tasha Steels. I mean, Impact is like continuing this trend of like tag teams breaking up, one of their partners going to AEW, but the person that stays in Impact is getting like a better position. I feel like first you had Josh Alexander become the champion. Now you have Tasha Steels going out to the Knockouts championship. You know, nothing against Ethan Page or Kiera Hogan, but I feel like Tasha and Alexander are definitely in better positions right now. But yeah, this match was great. I got a little scared at some spots, but hopefully everybody's okay. But yeah, it was a great match. For 9 minutes, thank God it was 9 minutes. If it went anything longer than 10, I would have been like, okay, this is too much. But I feel like, no, nothing was too long. Nothing was out of place. Everybody got their moves in, and it was a good outcome. I actually didn't expect Tasha to win. I felt like the story going in was Chelsea Green possibly winning. That way you can kind of like get this idea in your head that, okay, Cardona's going to win. Because the whole show they were like promoting, you know, there's going to be this power couple. We're going to win these titles together. You know, we're going to hopefully stop spreading whatever was at our wedding. That's a whole nother story. Every wrestling organization was represented at that Cardona wedding, and surely but slowly everybody's getting sick, I feel like. But yeah, it was a great match, and I'm very happy for Tasha Steels winning this match.
Yeah, I thought it was an awesome opener. Really delivered, especially being the first ever kind of women's version of this match. I thought it really exceeded expectations. And I think Tasha Steels is a great choice. She's someone who's been there a couple of years now, but hasn't ever really been in the title scene. So it does feel fresh. We've seen your Rosemaries and your Jordynne Graces flirt around with the title quite a lot. And I think Tasha Steels going forward against Mickie James feels something incredibly fresh. And she's good. She can talk. She can wrestle. So I'm all for that. And yeah, I just thought really fun opener with some really kind of spectacular spots in there. We then go to a commercial for the Free Fall movie. This was all over this show tonight and all over the ring apron and the turnbuckle pads. But yeah, some sort of new horror film coming out. You going to check this out, John?
I might. They said it was going to be on demand as well as in theater. So yeah, if I'm able to find it on some streaming service, I might check it out. It kind of threw me off at the beginning because the trailer starts with like the theme song from Candyman, but I'm like, wait, that's kind of weird because that's like known as like the Candyman theme song. But it seemed okay. I think it was like the producers of Get Out, so it's all right. I got some good people behind it. I won't pay for it. I won't see it in theaters, but I'll definitely check it out if it's available somewhere for me.
Tom Hannafin then says like how proud he is to be there at Impact Wrestling and kind of roll calls a lot of the like announcers who've been there before him, like Mike Tenay, Matt Stryker, Josh Matthews, and says he's honored to be there. So yeah, good to have Tom on the call tonight. We get a promo from Mickie James, who's going to be in the main event for the Knockouts Championship, defending it in a Texas death match. And she talks about history is in the making as the Knockouts champion will be walking into the Royal Rumble, but don't think that's going to get in the way of me tonight defending in a Texas death match. And we've been through a lot, so tonight's match is fitting as everything is bigger in Texas. Because it's not just going to be the 1, 2, 3 that you're getting up from, but also the 10-second count. And I'm not going to celebrate about being in the Rumble yet, as I'll be celebrating later as I'm walking out Knockouts World Champion. Good promo from Mickie here, just setting up. And first drop of the Royal Rumble. First Royal Rumble drop of many tonight. And then we go to Deonna, who's backstage with Matt Raywalt. And Deonna says, I'm glad Mickie is confident. She's been clinging onto her 15 minutes of fame way too long. And I have a plan A and a plan B. And that's when Gail Kim walks in, who's the kind of authority figure at Impact, and says that Matt Raywalt will be fired if he puts his hands on Mickie James tonight, and Deonna will automatically lose. And then Deonna kind of freaks out, saying there's a conspiracy against her, and this is the first time she's walking in not as champion at an Impact pay-per-view, and it's going to be the last time that it's that way. And Mickie might walk out tonight, but she definitely will not walk out of the Royal Rumble. So, yeah, Deonna sounding great as well, like very much like putting a lot for this main event. And that takes us to our X Division title match. Trey Miguel defending against Steve Maclin. And Trey comes out with some rascals. MSK making it over, perhaps. You
never know, right?
two hooded figures kind of in the old like Rascals MSK style gear making their entrance with Trey, but their backs were turned the whole time. So it could have been his boys wishing him good luck and just not showing their face, or it could just be two random guys.
Tom said, like, hey, it looks like a couple of rascals. So you never know. Like, maybe they had an agreement, like, give us Mickie, we'll give you MSK. But after I thought about it, I realized Miguel's been doing, like, Spider-Man, like, entrances. So I guess it was supposed to be, like, multiverse versions of him. I think that's what they were trying to represent, having the 3 Spider-Man,
that's right.
3 Miguel. Yeah.
That makes
sense. But, of course, like, our first thought was, hey, it's Wesley and what's the other guy's name? Nash Carter.
Nash Carter, yeah. Wentz and... Wentz and Dez, was it?
Dez and yeah.
And Wentz,
yeah. So many name changes.
Yeah.
But yeah, you never know. We'll never find out. It'll be like that time when CM Punk randomly showed up at an indie show and gave a go to sleep.
But as Trey is coming to the ring, Maclin just hits him with this crazy tope suicida, jumping the bell. Like, Maclin's a big guy, and he hits this. He doesn't do the old push tope. He really comes flying, looks great, and just came out of nowhere in the camera shot there. Then they're just brawling on the outside. Trey drop kicks Steve Maclin right down the ramp, and then dives into the ring and comes back with a suicide DDT to the floor. Trey then they then get into the ring and the match officially starts. Trey goes for a moonsault but gets caught and put in the Tree of Woe position, setting up for the crosshairs, which is where Maclin hits like a spear to an upside-down opponent. But Trey gets out of the hold. There's then this insane tope con hilo from Trey to the outside, where he bounces off Steve Maclin and lands in the crowd. Looked absolutely nuts. Maclin is now just tossing Trey everywhere, throwing him into the barricade. And then Maclin picks Trey out of midair with this huge uranagi, followed by a butterfly backbreaker, and then throws Trey to the outside and follows up with a Cactus Jack style elbow drop off the apron to Miguel's back. Trey goes for the Meteora but gets caught and set up in the ropes, and Maclin delivers the crosshairs spear, which looked great. Trey starts to make a bit of a comeback with his combination strikes, hits a Meteora off the top rope to Maclin on the apron to the floor, and this looked pretty nasty. As Maclin fell, his head just bounced off the ring guard there. One of many just quite nasty like head bumps tonight. Throws Maclin back into the ring. It hits the Meteora again, but Maclin kicks out. Trey then delivers a buzzsaw kick followed by a brainbuster and hits the Meteora one more time to get the win in 12 minutes 54 seconds. And as the stipulation goes, Maclin cannot challenge for the X Division Championship again. And Trey Miguel serving him his first pinfall loss in Impact. What did you think of this match, John?
This match was great. I was really looking forward to this match. I was very happy to hear that it got moved off the pre-show. I think maybe because of the tag title match, the Knockouts title match, it got pushed off. But it was supposed to be on the kickoff show, so I'm happy that it wasn't. So many scary spots. When Miguel landed in the crowd, like he had to make sure that the girl was okay because she looked like she was like thrown off by it, but she seemed like she was okay. When Maclin hit the crosshairs, like I thought they butted heads because they literally were like trapped in the ropes for like a good minute. It felt like I'm like, are they okay? Like they're not even moving, but they seem to be okay. And then that spot with the Meteora off the apron into the barricade and just going back head first. I'm like, geez, like these guys are like really are hard to kill tonight. But it was a great match, and I love the finish and just the multiple Meteoras that he did. And thank you to Knockout Films for confirming that it was a multiverse reference, as Trey Miguel put out a picture of him pointing to the other Trey Miguel's, I guess, in the multiverse. But this is a great match. This is a really good match. And I don't know what's next. I mean, obviously the stipulation has to stick, so I'm guessing maybe Maclin causes Miguel to lose to somebody, maybe like a Speedball Mike Bailey, and then Maclin can just kind of chase after him. But I've been very impressed with Maclin. Every time I see him, I say the same thing, like, where was this guy, and how come WWE didn't use him? Like, there's, like, it's crazy, like, the stuff that he can do. We never even saw, like, an ounce of it in NXT or WWE or anything. I mean, last time they used him, he was, like, that weird hooded character with Baron Corbin, like, back with a jacket and a hoodie. Yeah,
the
what are they
Knights
called?
of the Lone Wolves or something like that, wasn't it?
Yeah, so it's like I'm so happy for him to be here and actually like get to talk and actually get to wrestle and actually like show off that he's an actual wrestler. Like it's crazy to think like what people can do once they step into the forbidden door or whatever you want to call it, and actually do something different than what they were doing before.
Yeah, Maclin is so impressive, and I'm like you. Whenever I've seen him, I've gone, "Is this the same guy?" He's got a real. He's got a similar thing that Hangman has, and that's big size and like brute strength, but also so much speed, which a lot of his moves just look so deadly, like the crosshairs, like his tope suicida, because he's a big guy, and just has this brute strength and speed. I think he's awesome. I think I still find him pretty generic looking. And I don't know what he can really do to switch that up. And I think that's always been the case with WWE. And WWE very much is a kind of aesthetics kind of company. And that is why I can imagine a Steve Maclin very much getting lost there. But I think the in-ring ability of him is really good. And Trey Miguel, obviously, is always such an exciting performer to watch. So these two gel together really well. Be interested to see where they go next. Do you move Maclin, I assume, out of this division and maybe more into the heavyweight picture, or do you see him maybe forming a tag team? because he can't challenge for this title again, or at least while Trey is champion, right?
I was actually thinking of tag team because as you're talking, I'm thinking he's missing something about him. He just seems like a bland character. But if you put him with somebody like Deonna, I mean, honestly, they have a real life relationship. Maybe they can gel together and she can bring something out of him. Why not have her manage, Maclin and Matthew Raywold? Have them go over to the tag titles and have Deonna kind of be their mouthpiece. Just have him do a little bit something different. But I don't want him to be trapped in the tag team for a while because I feel like he definitely has a future as a singles character. But maybe put him in a tag team just for a little bit, just to kind of like make him gel into more of a character. And then, like I said, maybe he can somehow still stay in the X division and maybe cost Miguel the title and then go after whoever the champion is at that point. But I could definitely see him holding the title, whether it be tag team or X division, before the year's over.
We go backstage to The Influence, which is Madison Rayne and Tenille Dashwood. And Tenille says that the Inspiration were unprofessional as they didn't show up to work. Madison Rayne says, yes, it was different when you didn't show up to work as you had a photo shoot. And Tenille says, well, maybe one of them should have at least shown up to defend the titles. And Rayne is going, well, I don't think that's how it works. And we do have an opportunity, as on January 27th will be that tag title shot. And then Caleb shows them some photos on his phone that he's photoshopped with them holding the belt. But yeah, just a little thing here to say that we are getting that match down the line. I can't wait, John.
Yeah, I mean, I looked at January 27th. That seems like an episode of Impact. That's where the match honestly should be. It should have been on this pay-per-view. So let the match happen. Let it happen on a Thursday. I'm fine with that.
We go to our Ring of Honor Championship match. Yes, you heard right. The ROH title being defended on Impact for the first time. And we had Ian Riccaboni on the call, joining D'Lo Brown and Tom Hannafin, and Bobby Cruz making the ring announcement. I really like this touch, having these two there. And Ian Riccaboni is great on commentary. I really like him.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of him. That was one of my favorite parts of just listening to Ring of Honor, was him on commentary, just knowing everything and just giving them more like authentic sports feel. So yeah, it was perfect to have him here. And obviously, hopefully Ring of Honor sticks around when they come back in April. But I like how they've been like using Gresham and the Ring of Honor title on like GCW and Impact and all these other shows going forward. But yeah, it was cool for Impact to give Riccaboni the stage to, maybe introduce himself to people who aren't familiar with him. And, even like a Bobby Cruz to be there just to bring it, just say the rules of the pure rules and all that. So it was really cool to see this get the full Ring of Honor presentation.
Yeah, that was something I don't, as far as I'm aware, wasn't announced beforehand. It was going to be a pure rules wrestling match, which is... No,
because usually that's just for the Pure Rules Championship, which
exactly.
I think the last champion, I can't remember who the last champion is for that. I think Josh Woods, possibly. Yeah, usually the rules are, you have 3 rope breaks. You have like 1 open fist, a closed fist that you can use, like different rules than you have in a regular match. So yeah, as far as I know, this wasn't in the rule book for this match, but maybe they did it just kind of like give it more of a Ring of Honor feel, I guess.
Yeah, I think so. And Gresham very much associated with that pure wrestling title. So I like the addition of the rules. I know it's not everyone's cup of tea, but I like a bit of variety in the matches, and I think doing the whole thing with the only 3 rope breaks, it means you get a more of a kind of strategic style match, which I really appreciated. Riccaboni also points out that kind of the reason why Chris Sabin's getting this match is because 3 years ago he took the champion of the time, Jay Lethal, to a draw and was therefore owed a Ring of Honor title match, which he never got. So this is his opportunity from 3 years ago. I really like that. I mean, I don't know if that's why they chose Sabin. I imagine it more being like Sabin's just would be a great opponent for Gresham, but I like that they're trying to actually tie it together somehow. I quite like the little fact there.
Yeah, and they also went into the history of, Chris Sabin, his time in Ring of Honor, when him and Alex Shelley brought in Jay White and Gresham into the Search and Destroy group and really like kind of put them under their wing. Like they went into that whole history, which made it more of a reason to tune into this match. Like, oh, they actually have a history. Chris Sabin has that Ring of Honor experience. So he probably stood out one of the top 3 people in Impact that would make sense to actually have a Ring of Honor world title match. But yeah, the point that you made perfectly made sense as well. But yeah, this is a great choice to have Sabin here.
And again, as far as I'm aware, Tom Hannafin hasn't ever called either of these guys, but seemed to really know his stuff here as well, and seem really like knowledgeable about the two. But we go into the match, and there was some really nice chain wrestling to start. And Gresham applies this nasty-looking ankle lock, which he transitions into a pin attempt. And then Gresham's just working over the entire body, moving from limb to limb of Sabin. He starts working the wrist, doing the old joint manipulation. And then Sabin gets back into it by just hitting this big PK on the apron to Gresham on the outside. Sabin then hits his power bomb into the DDT for a 2 count. And Sabin goes for the pin, and Gresham uses up the first rope break to break the pin. Then Gresham comes back with a springboard moonsault, followed by a knee drop to the arm, and starts raining down with these elbow strikes and goes for a pin. Sabin kicks out, so Gresham immediately transitions into the crossface. And there's this nice little kind of tug of war as Sabin is reaching for the rope, and Gresham reaches with his other hand to pull the rope back, and they're kind of going back and forth. And then it's as if Gresham just lets him get the rope. It's like, yeah, I'm going to let you waste one of those rope breaks now, as I've just put a little bit more damage onto your arms. So it's 1-1 on the rope breaks. Gresham pulls Sabin back into the middle, applies the crossface again, and then moves into the octopus stretch. Sabin manages to get out of this, hitting the cradle shock, and it's 1, it's 2, it's 3. Your new Ring of Honor champion. Oh, no, not quite. Gresham's foot is under the rope, and the referee, Brian Hebner here, catches it after he made the 3 count. So it's then announced that Gresham has used up rope break number 2. We then get more of a strike exchange with chops and open palm strikes. Sabin hits this really big chop, and Gresham drops from it, but kips right back up, delivers an enziguri, but Sabin doesn't go down and just slaps Gresham, and now Sabin hits an enziguri, and Gresham slaps him back. Some just great strikes back and forth. Sabin goes for the Mahastral Cradle, but Gresham counters it to the European Clutch to pick up the win in 12 minutes, 39 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, as expected, this match was fantastic. I love the spot where Gresham was kind of like, you know what, just get the rope break. That way, just use them all. That way I can just make you tap out. My only hiccup was the spot where he hit the cradle shock, and Brian Hebner counted the 3, which, as far as I know, if you count the 3, the match should be over. So he should have caught it right before the 3, and saw the foot, and then not called it, because it didn't make sense. You call the 3, you can't just change your mind and say, oh, let's keep it going.
Yeah, Brian, you got to be looking at those shoulders the whole time. You got to be looking at those ropes the whole time. Yeah, I didn't really like that spot, but the rest of the match I really dug.
That could have even played into the story, hey, we got all these Ring of Honor people on commentary and ring announcing, but the official was still representing Impact, so maybe they could have done something with that. But the match was great. The crazy smacks they had with each other, the exchanges they had with the smack and the enziguri and then the kick, and the whole ending sequence is amazing. And then I love when Gresham just kind of goes back with that bridge pin and kind of folds his arms back and just looks like the perfect pin. And it was a great finish overall. And I would love to see, I think somebody in the chat room pointed out that I guess Gresham said that every defense going forward will be under pure rules, because that's how Ring of Honor was presented when it first came out. So that should be pretty cool to see him do that. But yeah, this is a great match. And I wouldn't mind seeing Gresham come back and fight like a Josh Alexander. I mean, come on, that match would be freaking fantastic.
100%. Yeah. Yeah, you can almost have Moose denying Alexander the match, so he goes for another world title in the ROH one. But yeah, I love this match. I love this style of wrestling. I'm really excited to see Gresham just fly the ROH flag during this downtime and just go to as many companies as possible defending this thing. There's so many wrestlers I'm excited to see him against, and if we get to see him more in Impact, as you said, Josh Alexander would be great. But Sabin, just the perfect opponent. And again, this match, I think perfect length of time. I could have probably got a little bit more from it. But yeah, just awesome technical wrestling from these two, as you'd expect.
And I just got reminded, because I totally forgot, that Gresham actually has his own promotion Terminus coming out later this month. He actually is defending the title against Josh Alexander on that show.
Oh,
I will be covering. Yeah, actually, we'll be covering that show. A lot of really good matches presented on that show. I think it's funny because like he's defending the original title against Josh Alexander, and then Bandito is defending the original, like the current Ring of Honor World title against somebody as well. So it's kind of cool to have both of those shows. But yeah, it's going to be his own promotion there. But I'm pretty sure we'll see Gresham again in Ring of Honor, especially what happens later on. I wouldn't be surprised if we have some sort of a Ring of Honor Impact joint pay-per-view possibly.
It definitely looks that way. Final sequence as well was just so exciting for this match. But really loved it. They do the Code of Honor at the end, sign of respect, shaking each other's hands. And we go backstage to Tasha Steels, who won the Ultimate X match to kick off the show. And she talks about making history. She says, "It ain't history if there is no flavor in it. And I created history. I am the culture queen, the Boricua badass and history maker. And whether it's Deonna or Mickie, you have a date on the wrong side of the street with Tasha Steels. Okay." Yeah, she's great. Great promo.
Come on, Davie. It's not okay. It's occur. That's how you do it.
Okay.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
there we go. Not cultured enough, John. I'm sorry. But yeah, Tasha sounded great here. And now we go to Josh Alexander versus Jonah. Josh Alexander being pissed off after he had the Impact World title ripped from his hands in front of his own child and wife at the at Bound for Glory by Moose, and he got attacked on Impact by a debuting Jonah. So yeah, Jonah being a bit of a heel here in the heel role for this match. But
yeah, and if anybody doesn't know, that's the former Bronson Reed, Jonah Rock, in case
Bronson
guys,
Reed,
yeah.
Jonah
Yes.
Rock, yeah. Yeah, his first big pay-per-view match in Impact here against Josh Alexander. And even though he's the heel, I think he's obviously such a familiar face, was in NXT, was a North American champion pretty recently before being let go. So there's a bit of a standoff and dueling chants from the crowd, really into both guys here. Alexander boots Jonah in the face, who just no-sells it. Jonah being quite a bit bigger than Josh Alexander. Jonah goes for his senton, but Alexander rolls out the way and goes to pick for the ankle lock immediately, but gets kicked to the outside. Jonah is sat on the apron at one point, and Alexander just runs at him with this flying crossbody through the ropes, which looked really impressive, but started off the kind of rib injury from Josh Alexander here, which Jonah just starts working over. He delivers this military press onto the top ropes, and then this kind of modified torture rack, which Josh tries to escape with a backslide, but just can't get the big man down. Josh starts going for the ankle again and goes for his C4 spike, but Jonah's too big to be lifted up. Jonah then just dumps him rib first on the top rope, followed up by a senton. And now we're having a bit of a chop exchange in the ring. Jonah's delivering these big forearms, and Josh, clearly been watching his New Japan, is just going, hit me, go on, bring it to me, and gets just rocked completely, knocked down by this big elbow. But it's almost played as if it might have been his kind of tactic, because now he's on his back. He starts just kicking away at the ankle of Jonah to take him down, and then gets him into the ropes, delivers 3 clotheslines, eventually knocking him to the outside. They're now brawling through the crowd, and Josh Alexander delivers this stiff right hand. It's almost like that, like Kushida baseball punch, knocking Jonah into the seats in the crowd, and Alexander climbs to the top turnbuckle and jumps over the guardrail with this flying forearm, just completely knocking down Jonah. Looked great. And then the ref starts making the count, but Jonah makes it in on 9. There's this knee drop from Alexander to the back of Jonah's neck, and then a big superplex off the top from Jonah. It's now just a hoss fight here. They're slapping each other. There's headbutts. There's clotheslines. Just striking each other here. brainbuster from Jonah, but Alexander kicks out. And then we notice that his head is just bleeding. Jonah's on the top turnbuckle, and Alexander starts getting at that ankle again, but obviously has to break it before the 5 count. And then Jonah knocks him off the turnbuckle, goes up the top, goes for a moonsault from the big man, but Alexander rolls out the way. We get this forearm from Jonah, a big German suplex from Alexander, followed by a powerbomb. I don't know how he lifted this guy up. And then the ankle lock. Alexander's just stomping away at the ankle, applies it again, and Jonah eventually taps in 16 minutes, 50 seconds.
This match was fantastic. Like, I knew it was going to be good, but this is better than I expected. And I honestly didn't know, like, who was going to win. Like, I couldn't predict it because you obviously have Jonah, who just debuted, so you want to look strong. Then you have Josh Alexander, who just lost the title, going after the title again, so he needs to look strong. But regardless of the result, they both looked freaking amazing in this. That whole sequence where, you know, like you said, Alexander was like, hit me, and he just knocks him down, and then Jonah's like celebrating, but you saw it was all a plan for Alexander to just kind of chop at his ankle. And then like just that crazy spot with Alexander jumping off the top rope into the crowd while Jonah was sitting, and just the crazy strength with the German suplex and the powerbomb. And then that brain buster was scary. Like, it literally looked like he actually busted his brain, because the second he dropped, just blood was oozing out. Yeah. It wasn't the last time we see blood tonight. But this match was amazing. I want to see these guys go again, honestly, and I can't wait to see like Jonah fight in New Japan Strong and fight in Impact against all these other people. But this match was fantastic, and I definitely want to see part 2 of this.
Yeah, and Alexander really keeping up that streak of just really hot matches. He continues to impress me. Jonah as well. I liked him in NXT, but I remember Braden and I always used to say on Up Next, kind of when he debuted in that breakout tournament, and he was saying, you hear about strong style, I want to show the world that I'm the king of Oz style. And I never really saw any strong style from him at all. And this match was exactly that. This was a strong style match, and Jonah really brought it and showed that he can do that, and Alexander too. I really enjoyed it. It felt like a kind of good like G1 style match, a real just like fight here. I'd be totally down to see it again, but I'm happy. I'm happy Alexander won. It's just showing that he's not being forgotten about. He's not in the title picture right now, but he's been put in a big program against a pretty big name debuting for the company, and he's picking up the win. So I absolutely see this kind of redemption arc, Alexander going for that title, getting that title that was robbed from him, continuing.
Hey, and with the recent releases, I know Jonah's been teasing it. We might finally get that Jonah versus Samoa Joe match that they teased at NXT that we never got. That could happen. That could happen. Impact, New Japan, who knows? But I feel like they're gonna cross paths at one point, and I would love to see Jonah and Samoa Joe. Like, that's one of my dream matches right there. Kind of like a pass the torch type moment. As somebody said in the chat, Jonah versus Jeff Cobb. That's another great match. There's so many different potentials. And I like how Jonah's not like committing to one promotion. You know, have him show up at a AEW. Have him be like a mystery opponent for somebody 1 week, like Jeff Cobb did at one time. And just don't sign, don't commit yourself. Just go around and have fun and wrestle everywhere and just kick ass, Jonah.
You know, Steve Maclin as well. We're saying, what do you do with him? Steve Maclin Jonah feud could be a real hoss fight as well. Yeah, I'm excited to see what we get from this guy. But yeah, up to this point, this show really delivering. Each match has just really exceeded my expectations, and a very solid card up to now.
Yeah, it's funny because I think you had mentioned also like the first hour was going head to head with Battle of the Belts. So we thought maybe like they would take it easy and put out some of the smaller matches, I guess, at the beginning. But no, they went full out like crazy from the start all the way up until 9 p.m., which I think is like around the time that this match ended. But yeah, the first hour was crazy. Then obviously we're gonna get a little break now, I feel like, with the Hardcore War. But up to this, it was an amazing show.
Yeah. So we get to the Hardcore War, and we've got the babyface team being interviewed by Gia Miller. And I think everyone had taken stuff that 80s wrestlers used to take before
This
promo.
This was hilarious. They're all screaming. Eddie Edwards is like, I have Kenny the kendo stick. And then Willie Mack is like you said, it was full 80s mode. And the whole time I'm like, there's no possible way that Heath Slater is going to like be up to this level. And then Rhino talks and they look at Heath. All right, let's go to the match. And he didn't get to talk.
Yeah.
I'm like, that's perfect because Heath would not have been able to like sustain the amount of craziness that Eddie Edwards, Swann, Mack, and Rhino had because they were like all into this 80s Road Warrior promo style and they were going crazy.
It was really
like, yeah.
You know what? It was really fun. You don't see promos of this style as much anymore, and I totally got those like 80s vibes from this. You just got Eddie Edwards screaming, "It's time for hardcore war. I look at this team we assembled, and we will do whatever it takes. We are willing to die if it means winning this match." And it's time to introduce Kenny to Dallas as he holds up the kendo stick. Rich Swan goes, "I got 4 of the most down hardcore suckers ready to get hardcore." Willie Mack, "There's no more running, no more near attacks." And then Rhino closing it out with Eric Young, "I don't care how many people we have to go with. Tonight I'm gonna twist your head off, kick it down the street, twist it back on just so I can reach down your throat and pull out your intestines. And Eric Young, I'm gonna make you bleed." And the whole time, Heath is just being a woo girl behind them. He's just like, woo, yeah. It was pretty fun. I quite enjoyed this.
I thought it was great.
So we go to our hardcore war match, which is essentially war games with 1 ring and no cage. So you're going to start with 2 people. Every 3 minutes, a new member of a team is going to enter, and they're going to keep going until all 10 men are in the match, and then it's win by pinfall or submission. And obviously, there is no disqualification. So we start off with Deonna versus Rich Swan, and Deonna sends Swan headfirst into a steel chair, which is set up in the corner, starts waving around the Violent by Design flag. I should say who the participants are, I guess. It's the guys we just mentioned, Eddie Edwards, Rich Swan, Willie Mack, Rhino, and Heath, taking on Violent by Design. So Eric Young, Deonna, and Joe Doring with the Good Brothers, Carl Anderson and Luke Gallows. Sorry,
and the story being that Rhino was recently part of Violent by Design, and he slowly but surely got kicked out. His friend Heath came and saved him. So they formed an alliance with Mack, Swann, and Eddie Edwards, and the Good Brothers and Violent by Design are forming this temporary alliance to take down these bad guys. And during this match, as everybody came out, everybody had their weapon of choice. So Deonna, I think, had a trash can, and Swann had the steel chair. And as everybody came out, they had their weapon, their trusty weapon that they chose to go into battle with.
That's right. And Deonna clearly impressing me with a side Russian leg sweep with the flag. Looked great. And then Devil in Your Six plays. Carl Anderson comes out with a golf club, and Rich Swan kicks him in the face, and this golf club goes flying and just disappears. It flies right out the ring. I'm worried for this poor crowd who have already had like 3 different guys just fly into the crowd at some point. But Swan goes and gets this club, low blows Anderson with it, but then Carl uses his tag team title belt on Swan, but Willie Mack runs out to even the odds. It's now 2 on 2, and he brings out a door, and I quite enjoyed the crowd here. They're doing kind of the Rhino gore chant, but with door, door, door. They set up the chairs to kind of make the door across them like a table, and they go to superplex Deonna through it, but Anderson makes the save, and they deliver a 3D through the door to Anderson, I believe, right?
To Gallows. To Anderson, and then Gallows came out, yep.
Then Gallows runs out for the save. He grabs the golf club and a trash can and puts the trash can on Willie Mack's balls and smashes it with the golf club. That's pretty much all Gallows did in this, apart from bleed. Then
I love how his partner is like getting his ass kicked, and then the devil, the music hits, and Gallows is just like, I'm gonna take my time and just
walk slowly to the ring.
Walk to the ring.
Yeah,
it's like, come on, like show some effort,
Yeah. Eddie Edwards then comes out with Kenny, the kendo stick. He hits this crazy tope suicida, just smashing into the guardrail, and then grabs a Michelob Ultra that someone in the front row is drinking and drinks from it.
Jeez, come on, Eddie.
Omicron don't exist in Texas. Come on.
Yeah, it's Texas.
Need some of those light beers to refresh. Eric Young then runs out with 2 trash can lids and just smashes Eddie over the head with it. You've got Deonna biting down on Edwards' head, and then Heath runs out, and Heath's weapon of choice is powder.
Baby powder. He did eventually have like a lead pipe in his back, but it's funny, you see him come out and he has his hand, and I'm looking, what is he, like brass knuckles? Like, what is this? And he just whoosh, the powder right to the face.
It worked. It took out Anderson, but it is funny. You've seen people run out with doors, with steel chairs, with trash cans, and Heath runs out with powder.
Hey, he has kids, so he has a lot of baby powder. What can I say?
He then starts using a pipe, though. There's a trash can on Deonna's head, and he strikes it with the pipe. And then Mack grabs the trash can, climbs to the top, and hits a moonsault, but misses. So just comes crashing down on this trash can.
I don't understand this. Even if the person was there and he hits it, he's gonna take the brunt of it. Like, he's landing on a trash can. Like, I don't know. Wrestling, right? I guess
it would hurt both. I mean, you're squashing the other guy.
Yeah, I guess.
The trash can. But yeah, it's wrestling logic. And talking of wrestling logic, Joe Doering comes out and doesn't need a weapon because he is the weapon. Doering, there's this kind of completely messed up Tower of Doom spot here, which looked awful in the corner. And like Tom says on commentary, he did hit a double power bomb there, but it really looked pretty awful.
It was terrible. I'm sorry. It was really bad.
Yeah. Rhino then comes out with a chain and just smashes Doering in the head with it. Gallows gets sent into the ring post, and now the crowd are chanting hardcore war, hardcore war. And you see Gallows is just leaking blood. Edwards is bleeding, and the two sides, all 10 men are in the ring now, and they do kind of the NXT War Games spot where they square off and just start brawling. There's this, is it Cole Anderson, I think, eats this, or is it Gallows, eats this kendo stick shot right to the head. Just looked awful.
Yeah, I think it was Anderson. Yeah, this at this point everybody was busted open. I feel like the entire match, I think everybody was bleeding. I'm like, oh my goodness.
Everyone's bleeding. Eddie Edwards attempts to set the kendo stick on fire, and he gets a little bit of a flame, but it just looks like a giant matchstick. So as soon as he waves it to hit Gallows with it, it immediately goes out. I feel he needed to let the fire maybe spread a bit more first.
Yeah, or maybe just take the tip of the fire and just jab him in it. Like, nobody told Eddie that
like a
if
cigarette
you swing
burn.
Something. Yeah, nobody told him if you swing it, it extinguishes the fire. So, and plus, it's just like, come on. But yeah, he hit Gallows with it, and I guess Gallows sold it as if he got burnt.
Yeah. There's then a pile driver from Eric Young through the table, and a barbed wire board is then brought out and set up in the corner. Doering hits a Death Valley driver to Rich Swan through the barbed wire board, and then we get the gore to Carl Anderson, and Heath covers Carl and picks up the pin in 23 minutes, 23 seconds. They're alluding to the fact now Rhino and Heath have pinned the tag champions, so they'll probably be next in line. But longest match on the show so far. Thoughts on this one?
Right before he hit the gore, Heath grabbed the Dallas Cowboys helmet from under the ring, which got a big pop from the crowd, except for Tom Hannafin, who was like, go Eagles. I think the Eagles were playing the Cowboys tonight, believe it or not, going head-to-head with this. But that was a nice little spot there. Rich Swan selling that Death Valley driver through the wooden board. He was screaming like he was freaking about to die. That pile driver that Young gave to Edwards through the table. There was a lot of crazy stuff here. Like I said, everybody was bleeding. A lot of blood being exchanged here. The ring was a mess. This is disgusting. There's beer being passed around between fans and the audience. But you know what? The match was a lot better than I expected it to be as far as like entertaining. It wasn't like boring. It wasn't like what we're used to in the past with like Eddie Edwards and Tommy Dreamer just randomly battling through an empty arena, whatever the hell they were doing last year. But you know, the match, the thing is, it was way too long. They should have just started the match with everybody in the ring because we had to wait 3 minutes before the next person came out, another 90 seconds intervals. It was way too long. By the time the actual match started, it was like 15 minutes into it. So it's like, come on, 23 minutes, like way too long. But I think this whole thing was to set up the angle after the match, which we'll get into. But as far as the match goes, like it too long, but it wasn't as bad as I expected. That's all I'll give it.
No, I mean, it was pretty sloppy, the whole thing, but some of the spots were pretty entertaining. And I think you've had like you've had the Ultimate X match and then 3 really solid singles matches. So you needed something of a bit of a breather before the 2 main events. But I agree with you. It would have probably worked just all 10 going at it right away. It didn't really justify to be this length. What's that?
The match needed Willie Regal to come out and go, Hardcore War!
Hardcore War.
That's all we needed. Yeah,
it felt a lot for like a mid to low card feud as well. It didn't feel like the level when you're getting a War Games or a Blood and Guts match, which really feels like a main event kind of thing. I mean, everyone was bleeding in this thing. There were so many headshots and stuff. I did enjoy it. I enjoyed it a lot more than I thought I would, but a little over long. But after the match, the big moment here is the baby faces are celebrating when Matt Taven, Mike Bennett, PCO, Vincent, and Maria Kanellis run out and just start attacking. They're beating down. Yes, Ring of Honor's invading. And did you see this spot? That they're attacking and Rich Swan is on the apron and PCO hits a swanton onto his face on the apron.
Yeah, that's just your usual PCO spot. I feel like he's been doing that forever. Yeah, I didn't expect this whole angle. Insane. Like, yeah, I mean, I don't know if you've been following Ring of Honor, but these are like some of the big names, obviously, from Ring of Honor.
Yeah.
Only thing that didn't make sense was that like Vincent has been in this blood feud with Taven and Bennett when they're part of the OGK, but obviously they're collaborating for the benefit of Ring of Honor. But this was really cool to see. And like, I like the part how they were coming out like one by one. Like you had Bennett and Taven, so you're thinking, okay, it's just the OGK coming to Impact, and then like Vincent randomly comes in, and then PCO's like making his way in and gets a big pop. So the fact they were coming like more and more, you're like, okay, we're getting like a Ring of Honor invasion. Like at first you thought it was just Taven and Bennett debuting, but like now we're getting a full out invasion. And then they come to the ring and they bring in the first lady of Impact. I'm sorry, the first lady of Ring of Honor, Maria Kanellis, which was really cool to see. So yeah, it definitely gets the ball rolling here on some sort of invasion or partnership with Ring of Honor, which makes perfect sense. Like if they're not doing anything for the next 3 months until April, have them do an angle with Impact, and then obviously they go to Scott D'Amore after, and he's like, I'm gonna call Baltimore and see what's going on here. So they really like made this seem pretty cool. Like, and we've seen plenty of invasion angles, but this being from an actual like established company like Ring of Honor, where you know they have a lot of crazy talent, definitely got a lot of ears, I think, buzzing off of this.
Yeah, I like this, and what I like is they're more on the same level. With the AEW Impact thing, AEW never really took them too seriously. You know, there was some talent trades and whatever, but AEW never really acknowledged Impact at all on TV, and it did feel like kind of big dog, little dog, you know? Whereas here, I think Ring of Honor is kind of more on Impact's level, and it gives them a presence while Ring of Honor's kind of down for the first quarter, assuming they are coming back. And I think this makes Impact interesting. Like, it gives it a bit of a shot in the arm. And you've got some great talent in ROH. So if we get to see these guys, if we get to see Gresham a bit more, we do see Roxy in the crowd later for the women's title match. So yeah, I'm all for this.
So do you think they're gonna like go like full-fledged like a joint pay-per-view and have like Ring of Honor versus Impact matches? Because that's something I could definitely see happening.
You could do that, or do at what is it next? Rebellion is the next.
Rebellion's the next big pay-per-view in April. Yep.
I mean, you could do like a 4-on-4 or a 5-on-5 or something there.
Hey, that would be a good WrestleMania. They're gonna go back to Dallas for WrestleMania. That's a great WrestleMania weekend, like Super Show, Ring of Honor versus Impact.
Absolutely. Yeah.
I would love to go to that. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I want to see a video, like a behind the scenes video, somebody filming like Ian Riccaboni, who's backstage, like being all, buddy with Scott D'Amore. Then when Scott D'Amore walks away, you just see Ian Riccaboni just kind of open the back door, and the guys just start running in, like, we're gonna invade. So I have fun with it. Invasions are always fun as long as they're done right, I guess. But yeah, I'm looking forward to this, and hopefully we get a lot of good matches out of this.
Yeah, absolutely. We go to our Impact World Championship match. Moose defending the title against W. Morrissey and Matt Cardona. Now, John, maybe give our listeners a little kind of recap of how these three have come together.
So Moose and Morrissey had like this, I guess, partnership going on for a while, and they were kind of helping each other win and everything. But then Morrissey was getting a little pissed off, like, hey, you're getting, I'm not getting any title shots. I'm helping you win here, but I'm not getting any title shots. And eventually it led to them kind of breaking apart. And then Cardona, became number one contender, and then they made it to a triple threat match. And then there was one segment where Moose hit Chelsea Green with a chair shot, like during a contract signing.
Yeah.
So that's like one of the stories going. So that's been one of the storylines going into this is all Chelsea Green saying, "Oh, Moose is, trying to get into your head, Cardona. It's right before your wedding. You're not focused. I'm over here taking pictures with Joey Janela. Like, there are a lot of things going on in Cardona's head right now. So that was going into this match. But they made it to a triple. I'm actually happy that this wasn't the main event because I feel like it didn't really have too much going into it. It was just like a triple threat match with three guys that aren't. I mean, Moose is good. The other two aren't like the best known wrestlers, I guess. Nothing against Cardona, but I just feel like he's not really like known to be in the main event scene.
No.
In Impact, at least. So I wasn't really looking forward to this match that much. With all the talk that Morrissey was saying lately about being alone, I know you mentioned, is he going to have a certain little blonde guy maybe come in and help him? And luckily that wasn't the case for this match. But I wasn't really liking this match going into it, so I wasn't expecting it to be that good.
Yeah, I'm with you. I'm someone who has been high up on Moose's work, but not so much the other two. And I often think Moose works better against kind of smaller opponents as well. So to be up against two other bigger guys, I can't say I was too looking forward to this one, or really seeing there being a situation where either Morrissey or Cardona win it. Was a bit of interest because they were really hitting you over the head with Morrissey being on his own. But I guess he was just being truthful because it ended up he was on his own the whole time, and we didn't get anything there. Well, let's get into the match itself. It starts off pretty frantic. We get a apron bomb from Moose to Cardona. Moose hits his huge running step up crossbody off the top rope to Morrissey, which always looks so impressive for a guy his size. Like, his athleticism's pretty cool. Moose hits the go to hell, like the sit out choke slam on Morrissey, but Cardona breaks it up with a leg drop and then starts delivering the reboot, formerly known as the broski boot, to both guys in each corner over and over again. There's then a kind of Tower of Doom powerbomb fall away slam spot. Moose then goes for a powerbomb on the floor to Cardona by the stage, and this is where Chelsea Green comes out and sort of distracting Moose, and Moose says, "Fuck you." So Chelsea goes, "No, you know what? Fuck you." Flips him off and hits a crossbody off the stage, taking out Moose. Morrissey then hits a slingshot plancher to the floor, and then back in the ring, Moose gets thrown into the corner, goes for his step-up crossbody again, and Cardona shoves him off. And Moose goes flying through this table at ringside, but his head pretty much smashes through this table to the concrete on the floor. This looked nasty.
This was scary, and even when they initially showed it, you just saw the camera of just the top rope. You didn't even see where Moose landed right away, so you're just was he meant to do that? Where did he fall? What happened? Yeah, I was very scary for this. You look at him on the floor, and the table's by his feet, so all you see is his head by the floor. I'm just like, oh god, did this go wrong? But luckily, he was able to get up after that.
Yeah, he hits this move so quickly where he runs up the turnbuckle and was shoved immediately. There was no time for him to really balance or prepare the fall. It was very similar to kind of the Kenta spot off the ladder. The landing looked nasty, and I wouldn't be surprised if we hear like he bumped his head pretty bad. But luckily he managed to get back into the match. Morrissey then comes in with a prosthetic leg. What's the relevance of this, John?
There was a Diesel Shawn Michaels match. I think it was one of the In Your Houses, if I'm not mistaken. Where he, like, Diesel took, I think it was like Mad Dog Vachon's like prosthetic leg from the audience. So it kind of gave me those vibes, obviously with Morrissey being tall like Diesel. I'm like, is this supposed to be like a throwback to the Shawn Michaels Diesel spot? But yeah, I don't even know where the hell this like leg even came from. And on top of that, like before we even saw the leg, D'Lo Brown's like talking about it. So he's like, I don't know what's going on right now, but there's a leg. And I'm like, wait, what?
I was getting Rocket Raccoon vibes.
Okay, yeah, that worked.
Just grab a limb.
Yeah, that was every 10 years or so you need a good leg spot in a match.
Yeah. So he's swinging around this prosthetic leg, but gets hit by radio silence, but he kicks out. There's then a big choke slam to Cardona from Morrissey, and Cardona comes back with the radio silence off the second rope. 1, 2, but Moose emerges from the dead and pulls the ref out of the ring, breaking up the count. Moose then goes to go to hell on Cardona, but Cardona rolls through with a victory roll. Moose then goes for the spear, but Cardona moves out the way, and the ref eats this spear. Great ref bump here. There's then the radio silence attempt again, but this is escaped. And now Morrissey hits the powerbomb to Cardona, but the ref is down. So Morrissey goes the outside, brings in a load of chairs, but Moose emerges, hits a low blow to Morrissey, starts swinging this chair. Now Cardona's coming in with chair shots, but there's a low blow to Cardona, and then Chelsea Green grabs the chair from Moose, and they recreate the angle that happened on Impact TV, where Cardona swings the chair and Moose gets out the way, but this time he kind of holds up to not hit Chelsea. And then Moose swings at Cardona, but Chelsea gets in out of the way. But then Moose picks up Cardona and powerbombs him into the corner on the new referee, Brandon Toll, and Chelsea Green, both getting squashed in the corner. Now 2 referees are down, and Moose hits the spear, but there's no ref. The first ref slowly crawls back in, and it's a 1, 2, 3. And Moose pins Matt Cardona and wins, retaining the Impact World title in 15 minutes, 58 seconds.
Yeah, there was a lot of shit going on at the end of this match. Usually when I finish the match, like my report is like, good. But for this, I had to like rewind to say, what the hell happened here? Because you had like 3 referees got taken out. There's a chair shot here, a chair shot there, and you're dodging this. It was a lot of like the ending was a little like over the top. Like I don't. There was a lot going on basically. But the match, it was it was all right. It was better than I expected it to be. Morrissey definitely did more than I thought he was gonna do in this match. Like he came in on a mission, like, hey, I'm gonna outshow these guys. But the match was what it was. I didn't expect any title change here. I didn't expect any like big angle or anything. The fact that it wasn't like the main event, I'm like, okay, it's not going to be that good of a match, or nothing's really going to happen out of it, I guess. But it was what it was. Like at this point, I just want Moose to move on to his next challenger. Who is it going to be? Who knows? Maybe back to Alexander. But yeah, this match was, I don't know. Didn't really like it.
I liked it a lot more than I thought I would. I did. I thought the pace they worked, especially in the first half of the match, they worked a lot quicker than I was expecting. But yeah, there was never any doubt that any of the other 2 were going to win for me, and it got very overbooked towards the end. This just didn't feel like a match for one of their big pay-per-views. I think when you look at some of the other people they have, you could have even just brought Jonah in right away for that big match or something. I didn't really buy these 2 as really worthy contenders for one of their main pay-per-views. If this was an Impact Plus one, this
exactly,
feels about
that's
right.
What I was gonna say. Mm-hmm. Definitely feel like an Impact Plus main event for sure. But yeah, just I don't know, just didn't really do nothing for me, unfortunately.
It exceeded my expectations, but was definitely one of my lesser favorite matches on the show. It was definitely down there for me. And that takes us to the main event, which is for the Knockouts Championship match. It's a Texas death match, which means you've got to pin your opponent and then have them stay down for the 10 count. We did see AEW do it recently, where they just did it kind of like more of a last man standing match, but this is like the traditional Texas death match here. And it's Mickie James defending the title against Deonna Purrazzo. Mickie winning the title from Deonna at the last big pay-per-view, Bound for Glory, towards the end of last year. And then pointing out that this is the first pay-per-view that Deonna's come in since joining Impact where she hasn't been the champion. So there's this quick roll-up from Mickie early on for the 3 count, but Deonna stands up right away. So Texas death matches are a little weird because similar almost to the pure rules thing, it's kind of, you've got to use these pins strategically and try to make them work into the story. So it's, Deonna gets pinned immediately, but she's like, well, I can afford that pin because I'm going to stand up right away anyway. It's definitely an odd match type, and it doesn't always quite work for me. But Deonna gets the Venus de Milo locked in right after, and Mickie taps right away and gets right back up. And this is when we see Roxy at ringside. Now they start introducing a bunch of chairs. Mickie has a wheelbarrow. There's Deonna with a golf club. Deonna hits a suplex onto the stage and then goes backstage and comes back with a flight case, one of the big production cases on wheels, and rolls it right into Mickey's face, pins Mickie on the stage, and now the 10 count starts, and we see that Mickie is bleeding. Back in the ring, Deonna swings with a chair but gets caught in a single-legged Boston Crab. And this is where as far as I'm aware, I didn't think you had submissions in a Texas death match. And this is where it made no sense to me. Because you had Mickie earlier in the match get put in the Venus de Milo. And she's like, well, I'll just tap out immediately and then the 10 count will start and I'll get out. But there's Deonna kind of selling here this submission and reaching for the ropes, and I'm going, well, just tap, because you're not gonna.
Yeah, I mean, well, earlier on when she put the Venus de Milo on, she tapped out, and then you still had to get up from the 10 count. What didn't make sense to me was she grabbed the rope and like Mickie let go. It's like there is no rope break, just keep it on. Who cares, you know? Yeah, it was a little weird. I guess the rules, like matches like this, like the rules are very, very like weird to get around, I guess.
It should just be pinfall and then the 10 count. Like the submission thing makes zero sense, because then it's a death match where you apply the submission and they're tapping and it's like, okay, I'm not winning, but I still like apply this move because it's no DQ.
Wasn't there? I mean, maybe I don't know if it was a death match, but wasn't there a match like where like the person had to quit and then there was a 10 count? Or am I thinking of? Or am I just making that up? Like I feel like they've done that before, right? Like where you quit and then there's a 10 count. Like I don't know.
I'm not sure.
I feel like it might have happened in some place. But
right.
Yeah, the rules are kind of. I think they probably didn't know the rules themselves. They're just like, call it Texas. We're in Texas and just do whatever you want. Use weapons.
Mickie then takes off the chaps, so now she's in little Dixie Dukes here, and then starts kneeing Deonna in the face. So she reveals she's got like this big knee brace on under the chaps, starts kneeing Deonna in the face. Deonna goes to the outside and brings out thumbtacks, and Mickie goes to the Mick DT on the tacks, but Deonna counters it and boots her in the face. And Mickie takes this back bump all onto the tacks. You see it all in her back. Looks great. Deonna then starts choking her with the chaps. And Mickie taps out, which starts the count. And then Mickie grabs a guitar that says Hardcore Country on it. And makes them. She was a bit of an idiot here. She poses with this guitar. And Deonna just attacks her from behind.
Well, D'Lo Brown mentioned how like all night long Mickie James was up like just making this, like I'm just picturing her like putting glitter and just like making this all night, all proud of it. So when she takes it out, she's like, yeah, that's what I made last night. Like I don't want to use it.
Deonna starts attacking Mickie with chair shots, and then Mickie hits Deonna in the head with the chair. So now Deonna's bleeding. Mickie hits the Luthez press off the apron to the floor to Deonna. And pins Deonna on the floor, And then the referee starts counting and getting to like 7, 8, when Matt Raywalt runs out to pick up Deonna to get her on her feet. Then Mickie jumps off the top to take them both out. They're fighting in the ring, and Deonna delivers the Queen's Gambit, the pile driver, through the table, but both get up at 9. And then Mickie, how shall I describe this? Grabs Deonna by the cooch. Like, what shall I say here?
it's a throwback to the Trish Stratus, Mickie James spot.
Yeah,
everybody knows that.
Low blow. Let's put it that way. So there's a low.
It was very gentle. She it was very gentle. It wasn't with much force. It was more of a
grab. Okay. And then grabs the guitar and smashes Matt Raywalt in the head with this guitar. This looked worse than the Tana Kenta one. Like, this looked like a legit guitar. It didn't smash or anything, just knocked this poor guy out. And then follows up with the Mick DT on the thumbtacks and just buries Deonna under the rubble of all the chairs and the broken table. And the 10 count is counted, and Mickie James retains in 19 minutes, 43 seconds.
Yeah, the match was good. You know, it wasn't like, didn't blow me like it wasn't like amazing. But the problem with these matches is like, you don't have like that big 1, 2, 3. The match is over. It's like 1, 2, 3. Okay, now let's see like if they're gonna get up. And then they tried to make it exciting by having like Mickie put the table and chairs on top of her, but there wasn't like that really like that big moment. I guess the big moment was Deonna grabbing. But the match was good. A lot of bloody spots. I think this show, I mean, not kind of like GCW or any other like hardcore shows, probably had the most like people bleeding throughout the show. There was at least like 8 people that were bleeding through the show, including these 2 women. But you know, a lot of good spots here, a lot of, you know, smart spots. The thing I didn't like was the Queen's Gambit off the top rope, and then like Mickie not even coming close to hitting it. It was all Deonna going through the table. So that didn't make sense to me. The ending was a little weird. Like, she like hit the chick kick to the face of Deonna, and then she like tried to go with the Mick DDT, but like Deonna wasn't really like getting up. Like, I don't know if there was, maybe she legit got hurt. Earlier in the match, when she got hit with that chair shot to the head, when Deonna was on the top rope, that was a vicious chair shot to the head.
Was. It really was.
I honestly would not be surprised if the reason why Deonna couldn't get up for the Mick DT could be maybe she wasn't fully there. Honestly, wouldn't be surprised.
Because I think the DDT was meant to be like right in the middle on all the thumbtacks. Like, there was some thumbtacks there, but it wasn't really. So they could have rocked her because it was a nasty chair shot.
We'll find out, because tomorrow they're going to be back in Texas. They're filming for the next couple weeks of Impact, and Deonna's supposed to be fighting Roxy for the Ring of Honor Women's title. So we'll find out if that happens tomorrow. But yeah, the match was okay. It was good. A lot of people just expected Mickie to lose after the Royal Rumble announcement. Like, oh, there's no possible way she's going to go into the Rumble as the Knockouts champion. Like, why not? She doesn't have to bring the belt with her, but they already announced her as the Knockouts champion. Like, you think, I mean, yeah, WWE probably has done more petty things, but okay, like, it wouldn't put it past them to actually have another champion in the Rumble. Why not? It doesn't hurt them. But yeah, I was happy with the outcome, and I guess we're gonna go right to Mickie and Tasha Steels as the next match for her. So that should be a good match.
Yeah, I assume so. Yeah, I didn't really like this match too much. I like both Deonna and Mickie, and there was some cool spots in it. I do find the Texas Deathmatch like stipulation just doesn't really make too much sense. And I think that, as I said earlier, the stuff with the submissions just made 0 sense. You've got, when I've seen it done well, this stipulation, I think we did, Braden and I talked about one from a Halloween Havoc, which was Vader, Cactus Jack. And I think you've got to, it's playing it a bit more strategically. It's kind of like the rope breaks in the Pure Rules. It's you kind of deliberately take a fall, because then the other person's not meant to attack you in the 10 seconds. So you're using that 10 seconds to kind of recover a little bit almost. And yeah, the stuff with submissions just made no sense. And I think the problem was you saw quite a lot in that 10-man, in that hardcore match. Like, there was a lot of blood, a lot of crazy spots. At one point, the crowd were like chanting, "We want fire," because you saw the tables set up, and it did feel like that. It's like, okay, how are these women gonna outdo what we've seen earlier in the night? Because we've already seen the like Ultimate X match, we've already seen the the hardcore war match. And I guess we had the thumbtacks, but it really felt like they were gonna like up the ante even more with something really crazy. And I mean, both worked hard. They were both bleeding. There was some, as you said, I wouldn't be surprised if Deonna might be a little rocked from this. But compared to the rest of the show, I don't think the 2 world title matches delivered as much as the other singles matches on the show.
Yeah, I highly enjoyed this show. It's going to be very hard for them to top. I think this is like Impact Special of the Year, I feel like. Definitely recommend the first hour. Definitely check out Gresham and Sabin. Check out Maclin and Miguel. Check out the Ultimate X Knockouts match. It was really good. But my match of the night was Jonah and Josh Alexander. Those two just totally impressed me. Went above and beyond what I expected from them. I just want to see him wrestle over and over again, honestly. I don't want to see him wrestle other people. Josh Alexander is my wrestler of the year last year. The match he had with TJP, the Iron Man match, was one of my favorites. Definitely like top 5 matches, I think. A lot of people might not have put that on their list, but give it a chance. I know it's an Iron Man match, but definitely check it out if you haven't already for 2021. But yeah, the show was a really, really good show. Just a lot of like scary spots. I hope that like we're not going to get a lot of injuries out of this. And just hearing Tom Phillips just commentate just made us. It felt like, honestly, it felt like one of the old like NXT shows. You had a lot of the familiar faces there. You had your Jonah Rock. You had your other familiar names that we remember, and just like the constant Royal Rumble and WWE references just made this like a really like surreal experience. But hopefully, with the WWE involvement and the Ring of Honor invasion angle, hopefully people will check it out. I know last year Kenny Omega gave him a little bit of bump around this time of the year, so maybe this year it'll be Ring of Honor, maybe it'll be WWE, who knows. AJ Styles might show up. He's been showing up everywhere else, so you never know who might show up to Impact in the next coming weeks. And they have their next big show is going to be in April in Poughkeepsie, as Davie Portman once said. And I wouldn't mind going to that show, because the next show they have there, I don't want to go to. It's Northeast Wrestling, and it's Braun Strowman and Eric Rowan against Enzo Amore and Bully Ray, and I don't want to see that show. So I'd rather wait till April and watch Rebellion.
Yeah, it's April 23rd, I believe they said. I thoroughly enjoyed this show. Even the matches I didn't like, I still enjoyed. I didn't like them maybe from kind of a technical point of view, but I still got some like entertainment from it. And the first 4 matches I really enjoyed. It's definitely my favorite Impact pay-per-view I've watched since kind of covering it the last couple of years. I was really impressed. I'd go between like the Jonah Josh Alexander match or the Ring of Honor match. Perhaps I thought both were really good. And yeah, definitely recommend going out and checking out some of this, because I thought they did a really good job. And I think from what I've heard, maybe put on a better show than AEW tonight. So
I wouldn't be surprised.
That's always something.
Yeah.
But yeah, I really enjoyed this. I think we've got a piece of feedback. There's a little bit of people going back and forth on the Facebook group and on the forum. But
oh no, what's going on?
The crowd were chanting, "We want fire," and we do have Fire Frank here with some feedback. He says, "Very fun show. I thought every match was good except the hardcore war, but even that had a good ending sequence and a shocking post-match angle. Women's Ultimate X was a great sprint, and they all worked hard and did some crazy spots. Maclin continues to impress, but wow, I hope he's okay after smacking his head like that. Ring of Honor title match was a nice slice of technical wrestling. Jonah and Josh had a very physical, hard-hitting match. That dive by Josh was nuts. Mickie and Deonna had a lot to follow, but they worked very hard and did some brutal spots there. Much respect to them. Even the world title 3-way was better than I expected, with some crazy spots like Moose flying out the ring and crashing scarily into that table. Tom was great in his Impact debut. He and D'Lo had good chemistry already, and he clearly did his homework on Impact, as well as throwing in some Easter eggs throughout the night. Everyone had their working boots on, and a hot Dallas crowd to boot. All told, really had a good time tonight watching it, and definitely felt worth the money. A good start to 2022 for Impact." Yeah, I almost felt like we've had so much good wrestling this year. It felt like a lot of these guys kind of wanted to prove themselves and be like, hey, we're here too. Because there was a lot of energy this show, which I haven't necessarily felt the others. A lot were kind of pushing themselves beyond what we're normally seeing. And it felt like, you had like almost one of those old ECW Paul Heyman rally speeches before this pay-per-view, because I thought everyone really brought it tonight.
Yeah, I mean, imagine having to have a show following 3 Wrestle Kingdom shows, a New Year's Evil special, Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson, and then it's like, okay, you guys go on last. Yeah. Do your best. Like if I was Josh Alexander and everybody's talking about like Kenny and Bryan and Page as like wrestler of the year, I'd be like, yo, fuck that. Like, did you see what I did last year? If not, see what I do tonight. And then Jonah's probably like, yeah, I got fired. Watch what I can do. Like, you know, like these guys have something to prove. Like they're like the little engine that could. Absolutely, yeah. Like a lot of these guys are some of the best wrestlers in the world, but people don't give them this time of day, unfortunately. And unfortunately, that could be because of the partnership last year. People had a little hype behind AEW, and AEW didn't get a chance to prove themselves, with the exception of what Gallows and Anderson, like showed up on AEW every week. But like, look at Deonna Purrazzo. She was pissed off. Like, how come women aren't going through the forbidden door? Like she was campaigning to fight Britt Baker the entire year. Britt Baker wanted it. They never did it. And now look at Mickie James. She's going through the biggest door there is, you know? So it's crazy. But this year should be pretty interesting. And with the Ring of Honor stuff, I'm really looking forward to this. I want to see Gresham. I want to see Roxy. I'm really high praise on Roxy. I think her and Deonna, if Deonna's healthy, could have a really banger of a match whenever that airs.
Yeah, I mean, I think Impact has that TNA stink still. And a lot of people kind of refuse to get past that and just refuse to kind of check them out, but which is a shame because I think they do put on some good stuff, and tonight was an example of that. Well, there you have it. That's everything from us tonight. John, do you have what do you have going on? Anything you'd like to plug before we say good night?
Yeah, just a little change in the schedule, I guess you could say, for Shot in the Dark, because now with Ring of Honor no longer having new material, I'll be watching some other shows. I know NWA recently started putting their shows on YouTube, so if you guys used to like NWA and then they went behind the Fight TV paywall and you didn't get a chance, they put up their shows on Fridays now. They have a new show on Saturdays called NWA USA, which just premiered today. So I'll be talking about that now on a weekly basis. They're having like their junior heavyweight tournament division, so that should be pretty interesting. NXT UK this coming week, we have what could be Walter's last match in NXT UK against Nathan Frazier, or aka Ben Carter, if you guys remember him from his AEW stint. So that should be great. 205 Live continues to be 205 Live until Joe Gacy decides to change it. But yeah, you know, this is the weekly basis. Check out my my MLW reports. MLW just recently came back with their Azteca shows, which is like them having shows out of Mexico, so some real like Lucha Underground type vibes there. And my weekly AEW reports on postwrestling.com as well.
Yeah, Shot in the Dark is a weekly show on this feed, the Up Next feed, where John covers all those shows he just mentions in less than 15 minutes. So catches you up with the whole world of wrestling, everything you've missed. And then obviously Braden and myself cover up NXT 2.0 every Tuesday night on this feed and live on Twitch TV/UpNextPodcast, and AEW Dynamite every Wednesday night at 10:15 also. And we've put out a bunch of shows over the last few weeks on the Patreon, patreon.com/upnext. Most recently, we put up our Best Match Ever 2021 Part 1, where we're going through matches 10 through to 6, as voted by you and us, of your favorite matches of the year. And we've got Part 2 coming out this Monday. So for only $5, you get that, plus almost 400 shows in our back catalogue. And if you're watching this on YouTube, please give us a like and hit that subscribe button just below there. All of that helps us out so much. Well, there you have it. You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Davie Portman. Follow the Up Next Twitter at Up Next Podcast, and join the Up Next Facebook group. Just type in Up Next Group on Facebook. And John, where can we find you?
You can find me at Siino Evil, CNOEVIL, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, Snapchat, Tinder. I'm everywhere. Look me up. I'll be around. Yeah, shout out to everybody. Shout out to you guys for that great intro on the 2021 Best Match Ever Part 1. That was a great intro. You guys check it out.
It got you hyped.
Obviously,
for the
check out the whole
matches.
show, but every time you guys do those intros, I feel like I'm about to watch like this epic like movie, like with the score and the music playing and everything. It's fantastic. Love it.
They're fun to make as well. Absolutely. Yeah, go and check that out on the Patreon. Well, good night, guys. Thank you very much for joining us. I hope you enjoyed the show. We'll talk to you very, very soon. Take care, be safe, and hardcore country, ahoy!
This is the captain. Brace for impact.